Welcome to Love and Consciousness, the radio show that asks the questions that other shows don't ask. Today we have the wonderful Sudi Burnett with us. Hello, Sudi.
Hello, Mr. Grant. Thank you so much for having me back on your show again.
You're welcome. So we've had literally hundreds of emails and thousands of texts asking us all kinds of questions. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, when did you know you had this talent for healing people?
Well, I should say that we are all born as healers is not something that I have and the rest of people don't. Basically, I think the question is, when would we accept this gift? Because I did a long detour journey of trying many things, and I got a degrees on so many different things. I took a lot of courses, classes, which wasn't had nothing to do with metaphysics or healing. I wasn't even into a spiritual realm, but basically when I started to accept this gift as doing the healing was when I was doing a couple of exercise DVDs, and then I thought, oh well, I'm gonna try to do a couple of dance DVDs, and I was looking for a few professionals, and we were rehearsing for salsa dancing. And one of the girls that was helping me with that, she asked me one day and she said, would you like to see a healer? And at that point, like I said, I didn't know anything about healing or metaphysics, and I just asked what is that? And she said, someone who will help you release some blocks and that stuff. And I have always been very open to everything, and I was like, yeah, sure, I give it a try. And then she asked a friend that came over, and she did healing on me for an hour. She spoke this language that they call angelic language that I didn't understand anything of it, but my soul was responding to it, and I was crying a lot the whole time. I felt very emotional. And then after that day, it was like suddenly everything started to change really rapidly. I started to feel and presence of a lot of different energies, different entities, and not that I didn't see them before, because I was aware of all the other energies around me, but it was more specifically I could feel their presence, and they were starting to communicate with me.
So let me ask you, what is this communication? I mean, who's getting in touch with you? Who's these guides or these angels? Or I mean, tell us about it. What is it?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit. Ever since I was a little kid, I was communicating with different energies as I played with them, because I grew up as an only child. So in the morning when everybody left home, I would wander in our big yard and garden, and I was fascinated by nature, the trees and leaves, and I used to cut up some flowers leaves and make a soup. And I was thinking that people need to eat this soup to be happy. I didn't know what that meant. But then I had imaginary friend. Have you had imaginary friend when you were a child, that they played with you and they talked to you?
No.
No, you didn't?
No.
Okay, so I did. And then there are like energies, you visually see them, but to me the way they present themselves were like little angels. Like, I didn't see wings, but it's like beautiful scenes that would resemble an angel. So I had that experience. And when I was 10 years old, my father died. And that was the very first time that I channeled, but I didn't know at the time what channeling meant and what that really was. But I remember that was summer, and my father was gone to work to north of Iran. And then I was staying at my sister's, and then one day my sister got a phone call, and they were like, oh yeah, your uncle died and come on home. So they left me with my sisters, and then after a week when I went back, they told me, they literally lied to me, my family, and they said my uncle died, and my youngest uncle at the time, he had cancer, and nobody could do anything about it. The cancer took all over his body. So we were expecting any time for my uncle to die. But then my family didn't tell me that it was my father that actually died. So when we went back to my home after a week, all of a sudden at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I felt very tired. That was the first time I went into really deep trance. And in my sleep at the time, I saw what happened, that my father was driving the car and then he lost control and he went down the alley, and I jumped from my sort of lucid dream, remembering that that wasn't really a dream, it was a lucid dream. And I started crying and I said, you guys lied to me, my father passed away. And from that moment on, I was in touch with my father's spirit and also all the other angels who were around me. So passing through, when I got like really extremely busy with life and everything, I totally let go of that part. Like I was still connected. I was still believing that this universe is with me. I could hear voices like, this is my next step and this is what I should do, or oh, no, I shouldn't take that route. I could hear, but I can't tell you specifically who was telling me or showing me the steps. Or maybe in a way I can tell you that maybe up to that point, when I was getting the guidance, I was thinking it's me. I was kind of, because the voice that we hear, it's so familiar, is not some outside word that is just like, oh, who is talking to me? You still feel that that voice is very familiar. And I was thinking till then that it's me who is thinking this thing and telling me to do this or not to do that. But at that point it became more visual, in a point that, oh, I am being guided with a higher power which is guiding me to do this or not to do that.
And that's what led you to doing healing.
That's right. So after that experience, everything started going really fast. Then every single day at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because I've been self-employed all my life, I was doing my TV show, doing like sessions, and in between at 2 o'clock I was checking my email, and it was suddenly like, oh, I'm tired, I'm feeling like my whole energy will be drained out, and boom, my head would hit the couch and I would be gone into trance. I don't know, maybe an hour, 2 hours, and then I would get downloads, literally seeing things that all the gurus and teachers are teaching us, like there is no time and space, or be here now at this moment, there is no past and there is no future. So it's one thing that we hear it from the masters or read it in a book, in a theory, and is another thing when you're downloading the information, because at this point it's like your body is just experiencing the knowledge or the teaching, and then it sits in you, so you have it forever. And then I can tell you, I had nights that I would go to sleep and then I would wake up in the morning feeling, the first thing when my consciousness will come back, I would feel that my body was hard rock. I didn't have any sense in my physical body. So eventually I would open my eyes and start moving my eyes, coming into my body and realizing that I have no senses in my physics, my hands, and then we can call this like self-hypnosis, right? So during the whole night, I was getting downloads and teachings and classes. It was like, okay, because I kind of started late. I got that when I was in my 40s. So it was like, oh, I postponed, delay. And then all of a sudden, I was receiving a crash course that everything has to go really quickly. So the process was going very, very fast. I would have nights of self-deep hypnosis that I would take me 20 minutes literally to start moving my hands and my fingers and get senses into my legs until I was able to get up. The next process that was like all of a sudden there was this opening. Because I was so shut down for so many years, I was a warrior, I was a soldier, I had to be tough for everyone else, that I never felt anything. So I had to be tough and hard, and I had many like shells or walls around me. All of a sudden it was like all those walls dropped and I started to feel everything and over feeling everything. So I could literally have a session with someone who hired me as a personal trainer to do exercise and tell them how to work out. And then after we were done and we would sit down, tears was literally running down my eyes. And they were like, oh, I'm okay. You know, I'm really doing good. My business is going great. But I was connecting to their soul on a much deeper level and feeling what it was really going inside of them. And that was the fast, quick process from there.
So let me ask, because obviously you're healing people, do you have any idea, or do you ever get in touch with these people? I mean, how are you helping them? I mean, what's the result? Have you seen the results of your healing on people?
Well, first of all, I've been doing this for the last, I believe, to be exact, 13 years. So I think the very first time that I really experienced this was my first seminar that I did in Dubai. And we have that, it's in Farsi, but we have it on YouTube. If you put Sudi Yazdi seminar in Dubai, we edited literally 1/3 of that 4 days because of how extreme everything was. Like people were getting sick, they were shaking, they were throwing up, and I'm just like running around and working on these people. Maybe I can tell you in that moment, in that 4 days, the first day when I stood there, I experienced like maybe hundreds of guys who were holding their space, because that was my first seminar and we had 107 people. No advertising, it was just by my television and word of mouth. And after the 8 hours of seminars, I had literally every day 8 to 12 healing sessions. So we had 2 healing beds. I would work on one person here and then I would move to the next one. And literally everyone who would say like this guy would tell me, oh, I'm suffering from asthma and da-da-da-da. I would hear this and I would work on him. And I'm not talking about like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. It was like 5 minutes, maybe max 8 minutes. And all I did was I would just stand there, close my eyes and get out of my body. And I just felt the energy that's running the energy through that person. And suddenly he would stand up and he was like, oh, I can breathe again. The next person is complaining about backache or something. And it was like instantly happening. Like we would see or hear instant result. So then when I got back, I started getting a lot of private sessions. So if I give you an example, I remember one day this lady called me and she said, I don't know who you are, but I got your number from somebody and they said you're a strong healer. And I said, okay. So she said, I have cancer and I wanted to see if you can see me. And I told her, yes, let me get back with you. So right away I went and I lay down. I don't do sitting meditations, I do sleeping meditation. And I just go right to sleep, and like 10-15 minutes I heard, now you will go and work on her. So I called her back and I said, I can come and see you right now. So I drove to her place, and as soon as I saw her, as soon as her husband greeted me, I felt the energy, that how toxic her environment was. and the relationship and the anxiety of the husband. So I asked them at that moment, I said, I would like to see you alone. And then first she said to me, she says, oh, it's okay, my husband can be here. I said, well, there's a lot of information that's going to come up, and maybe you like to be alone and more private. And then she asked her husband to leave. And when her husband left, I just told her, I said, your environment is extremely toxic. And she agreed, and she told me about their issues. I'm not going to go through that. But I worked on her literally 10 minutes. And right after the 10 minutes, she opened her eyes and she said to me, I am cured. I'm cancer free. And I said to her, okay, if that's how you feel. And I left. And a month later, she called me back to say thank you. And she says, I went and they did done some tests, and I'm cancer free. So we have many, many, many of these issues. I cannot even tell you how many people I have worked on so far. I don't count them, I don't know, but literally it's been thousands of people that I worked on. And we never heard of anyone contacting us back and tell us I didn't get a result, or I didn't feel anything. So maybe I should tell you we didn't have any complaints.
That's amazing. Well, we're actually running out of time again. It seems to fly by when we have you on the show. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, if you want to get in touch with Sudi, she has a website which is
sudabh.com, sudabh.com. You guys can also email me. My email address is sudiburnett@gmail.com.
That's great. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.